Director of Safety. But before, he was the Director of Maintenance and Technical Support. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Colonel Mdokwe, you may take your seat. Would like to welcome you, Colonel, to this inquiry by the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, which is investigating the plane that crashed on 10th of June at Ntongwa and led to the loss of lives of the former Vice President, Dr. Saros Klaus Chilima, and 8 others. In our midst are members of the Ad Hoc Committee and the Secretariat. Allow me to have some self-introductions, starting with the membership on the right and the Secretariat on the left.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. My name is Mpatso Jones Boti. I'm a Member of Parliament for Lilongwe Mude constituency, and I have already made my initial declaration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. My name is Felix Njawala, Member of Parliament for Mwanza Central constituency. Thank you.
Good morning, through you, Chair. My name is Tyrese Moses Mbengo, MP for Nchewuzo constituency. Thank you.
Morning, Chair. My name is Mackenzie Chipamamoto Nkwazi. I represent the people of Nkatabe North, and I'm a member of this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Chair, Dumisano Lindan is my name, representing the people of Zomba Tondwe constituency, and a member of this ad hoc committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. My name is James Mpunga. I represent the people of Zomba City South constituency, and I'm a Vice Chairperson of this committee.
Chairperson, my name is Longani Kabich, Chief Clerk Assistant, and the Secretariat, and I'll allow my colleagues to quickly introduce themselves.
Chair, good morning. My name is Ephraim Maipopo, Principal Clerk Assistant. Thank you.
Good morning. Chair, my name is Patrice Nkono, and I'm a consultant with the Secretariat. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and all honorable members. My name is Suzy Okunga, Principal Public Relations Officer. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and all members. I am Endless Nyali, Parliament Secretariat.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Alfred Mangani, Parliament Secretariat.
Good morning, through Honorable Chair. My name is Annie Kanyangalazi, Research Officer.
Through Honorable Chairperson, my name is Charles Makalani, Committee Clerk. Thank you.
Through the Honorable Chairperson, I'm Upire Polepole Ali, Committee Clerk. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. I am Louis Maki, Secretariat.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Sipiwe Komwa, Secretariat.
And my name is Walter Nyamilandu Manda, the Chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee and a Member of Parliament for Nsanje Southwest. Before we begin, just to inform you that our session this morning is live on Parliamentary TV and other media houses, on Facebook, as well as on YouTube, and to inquire from you what language you're comfortable to communicate with.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. I'll be comfortable to communicate in both Chichewa and English. Thank you, Chair.
Much obliged. Colonel Julius Clemens Mdokwe, you served as a Director of Maintenance and Technical Support at Zomba Air Base at the time of the crash. In that capacity, you were responsible for overseeing the quality assurance of all maintenance activities on Air Force aircraft at the base, ensuring compliance with technical standards, certifying airworthiness, and maintaining the complete set of aircraft technical documentation, including the technical log, inspection records, defect register, quality control checklists, and all certification paperwork for MAF Tango 03. The committee has called upon you to give evidence on the role played by your office in the planning and preparations of the late Vice President's flight on 10th June 2024, including maintenance records, inspection records, defects reporting, technical certifications, and airworthiness assessments undertaken on the aircraft before departure. Colonel, you received summons to this effect. Before you respond, we would like you to take an oath. May I request Secretariat to administer oath?
I, Colonel Julius Ndokwe,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
by the Almighty God
by the Almighty God
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Colonel Dokwe, you are now free to respond to the summons and present it in the manner you see fit. We have received a copy of your report, and you may proceed. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the committee, and thank you, members of the Secretariat. Thank you for welcoming me. As already pointed out by the Chair, I'm Colonel Julius Ndokwe. I am a certified aircraft maintenance engineer, certified by the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA. I have over 35 years of experience in aircraft maintenance, airworthiness management, and flight safety, having served in the aviation industry since 1991. I completed my basic aircraft maintenance course in the Republic of South Africa and subsequently took advanced aviation maintenance and inspection training, including aircraft maintenance inspector course in Germany and aircraft airworthiness course in Singapore. I also successfully completed a flight safety officer course in the Republic of South Africa. In addition, I have completed several aircraft type conversion courses in Germany and China, enhancing my experience in the maintenance and airworthiness management of various aircraft types. Throughout my career, I have held key technical and leadership appointments within the Malawi Air Force, contributing significantly to aircraft maintenance oversight, airworthiness assurance, quality management, and flight safety. When the accident happened, I was serving as the Director of Aircraft Maintenance and Technical Support. I am currently serving as the Director of Flight Safety for the Malawi Air Force since August 2024. I respectively submit this statement to assist the committee in understanding the role played by the Director of Maintenance and Technical Support in relation to the aircraft undertaken by the late State Vice President, Dr. Saul Chirima, on 10 June 2024 on Malawi Air Force Donia 228 aircraft registration MAF T03. The primary responsibility as Director of Maintenance and Technical Support was to ensure that all Malawi Air Force aircraft are properly maintained and retain airworthy. This included overseeing aircraft inspections, maintenance activities, defect management, technical certifications, and compliance with approved airworthiness requirements. Role of my office in the preparation of flights. The involvement of the Directorate of Maintenance in the preparations for flight was centered on ensuring that the flight assigned to missions was technically fit and safe for operation. Before any aircraft is released for flight, maintenance personnel verify that all requirements that is in maintenance have been completed, inspections are up to date, and any reported defects have been properly addressed in accordance with approved maintenance procedures. It is important to note that my office was not responsible for operation aspects of flights such as route planning, weather assessment, flight authorization, mission planning, or decisions made by the flight crew. Our responsibility was limited to ensuring that the aircraft is technically serviceable and airworthy. Aircraft maintenance records. A review of the aircraft maintenance records confirmed that the aircraft had been maintained in accordance with the approved maintenance program. All scheduled maintenance activities had been carried out within the prescribed intervals, and there were no outstanding maintenance requirements that would have prevented the aircraft from operating. The records showed that the aircraft remained within all approved maintenance limitations and was considered serviceable for flight. Aircraft maintenance records. The aircraft had undergone the inspections required under the approved maintenance program. These inspections are designed to verify the condition of the aircraft and to ensure that all systems continue to function as intended. The inspection records available before the Vice President's flight did not identify any condition that would have rendered the aircraft unfit for flight. Defect reporting and rectification. The Malawi Air Force operates a structured system for recording and managing aircraft defects. Whenever a defect is reported, it is assessed by qualified maintenance personnel and appropriate corrective action is taken before the aircraft is returned to service. In circumstances where regulations permit, certain minor defects may be deferred under controlled procedures without compromising safety. The records reviewed prior to the Vice President flight did not indicate the existence of unresolved defect that would have prevented the aircraft from being released for the missions. Technical certification. Aircraft maintenance work is only certified by appropriately authorized and qualified personnel. Before the aircraft is released for flight, the relevant maintenance certifications have to be completed, confirming that the required maintenance actions have been carried out and that the aircraft meets the necessary technical standards for operation. Airworthiness assessment. Airworthiness is a determination that an aircraft conforms to its approved design and is in condition for safe operation. Based on the maintenance records, inspection records, and technical certifications available prior to the Vice President flight, there was no indication that the aircraft was unairworthy. The available documentation demonstrated that the aircraft met the applicable airworthiness requirements and was therefore considered fit for flight. Structural integrity of Dornier 228 aircraft. The assessment of the aircraft structural condition based on certification data and airworthiness engineering principles establishes the following. The Dornier 228-202 has a certified structural life of 29,600 flight hours. At the time of the accident, the aircraft had accumulated only 3,492.2 flight hours. This represented approximately 12% of its certified structural life. Aircraft structural life is determined primarily by fatigue accumulation, measured through flight hours and flight cycles, rather than calendar age. The aircraft remained significantly below its approved fatigue life limits. From a structural airworthiness perspective, the aircraft was operating well within its certified life envelope. I have an annex to this report which can be referred to later, Honorable Chair. Flight recorders. The aircraft involved in the accident, MAF T03, was acquired in June 1988 and was delivered without flight recording equipment. Flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder are classified as optional equipment rather than mandatory installations for military aircraft. The master equipment list, MEL, which serves as the authoritative record of equipment installed on the aircraft at the time of manufacture and delivery, confirms that the aircraft was not equipped with either a CVR or an FDR. I also refer you to the annex which have attached to this report. This is a copy of the master equipment list.
Members don't have it?
No, but it's attached in the, no chair, it's attached in the annex.
So it's available to Secretary? Okay, okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. This position is further supported by the Pilot Operating Handbook, POH, which contains no supplements or amendments indicating installation of such equipment. Honorable Chair, I also refer you to the Annex B of this report. This is a copy of the Pilot's Operating Handbook.
May I request Secretary to print copies of these annexes so that we can refer to them when we are engaging the witness? You may proceed.
Therefore, the available aircraft documentation, therefore, conclusively establishes that the absence of a CVR and an FDR equipment was fully consistent with the aircraft original certification basis. The aircraft configuration was accurately reflected in both the master equipment list and the pilot's operating handbook. Chair, honorable members of the committee, now let me take you to the regulatory status of Malawi Air Force aircraft. The Malawi Air Force aircraft are classified as state aircraft under Article 3 of the Convention on International Civil Aviation, commonly referred to as the Chicago Convention. This is a copy of the Chicago Convention. B, Section 2, Subsection 3 of the Malawi Civil Aviation Act 2017. This is the Malawi Civil Aviation Act of 2017. This act also recognizes state aircraft. As state aircraft, they are not subject to the same civil aviation equipment requirements that apply to commercial aircraft. Notwithstanding this exemption, the Malawi Air Force recognized the safety benefits associated with flight recorders and modern emergency locator transmitters. A decision was therefore made to pursue voluntary installation of these systems on MAF Tango 03 aircraft, being a VIP aircraft. Quotations were obtained for the required equipment and associated aircraft modifications. However, the procurement process could not be completed because the quotation expired before funding could be secured, resulting in the aircraft continuing operations without these upgrades. Here is a copy of the quotation that was acquired at that time. It is important to clarify the regulatory framework governing state-owned aircraft. And for ease of understanding, I've compared it with the system applied to government-owned motor vehicles. Government-owned vehicles, including those used by senior government officials, such as the President, Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, military commanders, and other senior officials, do not normally undergo inspections for a certificate of fitness through the Directorate of Road Traffic in the same manner as privately owned vehicles. Historically, the responsibility for ensuring the roadworthiness and maintenance of government vehicles was performed by the Plant and Vehicle Hire Organization, which we used to call the PVHO, which maintained internal government systems for vehicle inspection, servicing, repairs, and fleet management. Through these internal structures, government vehicles were maintained to prescribed standards without the requirement to obtain a certificate of fitness from the Directorate of Road Traffic. The principle behind this arrangement is that the government maintains its own oversight and accountability mechanisms to ensure that state-owned vehicles remain safe and serviceable. A similar principle applies to state aircraft. Under international aviation law, particularly the Convention on International Civil Aviation, commonly known as the Chicago Convention, military aircraft and other aircraft operated for state purposes are classified as state aircraft. Such aircraft are not subject to the same civil aviation regulatory framework that governs commercial airlines and privately operated civil aircraft. State aircraft are instead regulated through internal governmental and military airworthiness systems established by the state operating the aircraft. These systems include aircraft maintenance programs, technical inspections, airworthiness reviews, quality assurance programs, flight safety management systems, and operational oversight mechanisms. State aircraft are consequently not required to obtain a civil certificate of airworthiness from the Civil Aviation Authority, in the same manner as commercial air transport aircraft. Rather, the operating government department or military organization assumes responsibility for ensuring that the aircraft are maintained and operated in an airworthy condition through its own approved airworthiness management system. Honorable Chair, honorable members, now let me take you through the cabin configuration prior to the Vice President's flight. The presence of reduced passenger seats on the Dornier 228 involved in the Chikangawa accident has a straightforward operational explanation. On 9th June 2024, the aircraft had been tasked to carry the remains of the late Raf Kasambala. To accommodate the casket safely and respectively, seats located in the rear cabin were removed, thereby converting the aircraft into a combination passenger-cargo configuration, which in aviation we shorten it as Combi configuration. This reconfiguration created the necessary space for the secure carriage of the casket, while ensuring compliance with aircraft loading, weight, and balance requirements. Following completion of that mission, the aircraft remained in the same approved configuration and subsequently operated this accident flight with a reduced passenger seating capacity. It is important to emphasize that this arrangement was operationally necessary, technically sound, and fully consistent with established aviation practices for a mature aircraft such as the Dornier 228. The reduced seating capacity was therefore not an anomaly, deficiency, or safety concern, but rather a direct consequence of the aircraft operational flexibility and its prior tasking to transport human remains. The aircraft seating reconfiguration could only be carried out at Zomba Air Base. Consequently, had the aircraft been required to return to Zomba from Zuzu for this purpose, the resulting delay would have likely prevented the Vice President from arriving in Nzuzu in time to attend the funeral program as scheduled. Let me also mention here, Honorable Chair, members of the committee, that the VIP seats for MAF Tango 03 are not quick change seats. It takes an experienced aircraft technician about 1 hour to fit one chair. They have got 4 mounting points, which you have to use bolts and nuts. So considering the time frame that the Vice President was supposed to be in Nzuzu, this reconfiguration could not be carried out. It was not possible to carry out this reconfiguration. One chair takes about 1 hour for an experienced technician. So you cannot only fit one chair in this aircraft. You have to consider weight and balance principles. So you have to fit 2 chairs in the rear cabin, and then in the middle of these 2 chairs is a working table. You have also to fit this working table. So there was a time constraint. This could not be done. That's why the aircraft was left to go to Nzuzu in the configuration that it had the previous day. Since the Vice President was against time, he had to meet the schedule in Nzuzu. Thank you, Chair. Absence of post-impact fire. For a fire to occur, 3 essential elements must exist simultaneously. There has to be fuel, such as aviation fuel, oxygen in the air, and a secure source of heat or spark to ignite the fuel. For a fire to occur, 3 elements must be available. There has to be fuel, there has to be air, and there has to be a source of heat to ignite the fuel. This is known as the fire triangle. If any one of these is missing, a fire will not occur. This is science. It's proven. In the case of the Dornier 228 accident, aviation fuel and atmospheric oxygen were present. However, evidence suggests that there was no sufficient heat source or ignition mechanism capable of igniting the spilled fuel. What happened in this accident? In this accident, the aircraft carried fuel in its wings, so fuel was present at the time of the crash. Oxygen from the air was available, as is always is. Although fuel and oxygen were present, there was no effective source of heat or spark to start the fire. This is the most important point. The engines of the Dornier 228 aircraft are mounted on the wings and normally represent the primary source of high temperatures, that is heat, during aircraft operation. During the crash, both engines detached from the aircraft structure. Their separation from the wing sections containing fuel significantly reduced the possibility of fuel ignition. Secondly, the Dornier 228 is a high-wing aircraft, meaning that its wings are positioned above the fuselage. These design characteristics influenced the crash dynamics. During impact, the lower fuselage absorbed most of the impact forces. The wings where the fuel tanks are located had limited direct impact contact with the ground. Consequently, insufficient heat was generated through structural friction to ignite the spilled fuel. Thirdly, the aircraft electrical system is powered primarily by engine-driven generators. These generators are mounted in the engine. Once the engines stopped and separated during impact, electrical generation ceased immediately. Aircraft electrical power was lost and electrical circuits became de-energized. This likely prevented electrical arcing and short circuit sparks from damaged electrical wiring. The immediate loss of electrical power therefore removed another major potential ignition source. Both engines separated from the aircraft. This is the source of heat on the aircraft. This is one engine. This is another engine. Furthermore, the generators that generate electricity on the aircraft, they are mounted in the engines. But during this crash, the generators also dismounted from the engines. So there was no electrical power on the aircraft. Assessment of engine power at impact. Examination of the wreckage, particularly the condition of the propeller assemblies, indicates that both engines were likely producing power at the time of ground impact. The Dornier 228 is equipped with Honeywell TPE 331 turboprop engines. In the event of loss of engine oil pressure, which is indicative of an engine malfunction or failure, the propeller system is designed to automatically move the blades towards the feathered position. This feature reduces aerodynamic drag by aligning the propeller blades with the airflow. Detailed inspection of the propeller blades revealed extensive bending, twisting, code-wise scrubbing consistent with rotation under power at the time of impact. Furthermore, the propeller blades were not observed in a feathered position. The observed blade deformation is consistent with significant rotation energy being present when the propellers contacted the terrain. Based on this available evidence, the propeller damage signature are consistent with both engines developing power at the time of impact. The absence of feathered propeller blade positions does not support a scenario involving a pre-impact loss of oil pressure and complete power loss. Here are the pictures of the propellers after the crash. Both propellers were not in feathered position, which means the aircraft engines were producing power. The engines were running. Because if the engines were not running, these propellers would have been in a feathered position. Similarly, this is a picture of the other propeller. This propeller is not in feathered position. It is in fine blade angle. Means this engine was producing power when it impacted the ground. Condition of the aircraft wreckage. It is important to note that the image of the wreckage that most members of the public are familiar with is the one that was circulated by various media outlets and social media platforms immediately after the wreckage was discovered. These images depict the aircraft in its original post-impact condition, before any significant recovery or investigative activities had commenced. Following the discovery of the crash site, the most substantial disturbance to the wreckage occurred during the recovery of the accident victims. Due to the severity of the impact, some bodies were trapped within the aircraft structure and could not be removed without cutting open the sections of the fuselage. These actions were necessary to facilitate the safe and dignified recovery of the deceased and were conducted under the prevailing circumstances at the crash site. A further degree of disturbance resulted from the technical examination conducted by investigators from the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Accident Investigation, BFU. As part of their investigation, the BFU examined and, where necessary, dismantled portions of the wreckage to determine whether there was any evidence of structural failure, system malfunction, or other technical defects that may have contributed to the accident. Following this analysis, the BFU found no evidence of structural failure, system malfunction, or any accident-related technical defect. This is a picture of the BFU conducting the analysis on the leakage. As the officer in charge for the recovery operation, I can confirm that recovery personnel exercised maximum care to preserve the integrity of the wreckage. The only significant alteration made by the recovery team was the removal of the wing and the horizontal stabilizer to enable the wreckage fit into the recovery track for transportation from accident site to Zomba Air Base. Apart from this necessary action, no additional dismantling or disturbance of the wreckage was undertaken by the recovery team. Notification of the missing aircraft. On 10 June 2024, at about 1200 hours, I was summoned to the office of the then Director of Operations, Mara Air Force, Brigadier General Hudson Kandula, who informed me that the aircraft did not arrive in Zuzu as expected. At around 1300 hours, he convened a meeting involving all officers at Zomba Air Base to discuss the situation and initiate emergency response measures. Formation of emergency response team. At around 1400 hours on 10 June 2024, Brigadier General Harrison Kandula constituted a Zomba Air Base emergency response team comprising the following personnel: Brigadier General Harrison Kandula, Colonel Julius Ndokwe, that is myself, Major Tonazi Onseka, Captain Ntesa Maramula, Warrant Officer Class 2 Jones Maonga, Sergeant Chifundo Makulu, and Private James Chipanda. The team departed for Lilongwe on the evening of 10 June 2024 and spent the night there in preparation for onward movement to the northern region. On 11 June 2024, the team proceeded to Nzuzu, while Captain Ntesa Maramulo remained in Lilongwe to serve as the air liaison officer for the foreign air crews expected to arrive in support of the search and rescue operation. The team was tasked with assisting the search and rescue operations and assessing the situation on the ground. The team's departure from Zomba was rather delayed due to logistical challenges. Arrival at Search and Rescue Coordination Center. The team arrived and joined the Search and Rescue Coordination Center, which was established at Vipia Airfield at around 0900 hours on 11 June 2024. The team was briefed by the then 101 Brigade Commander, Brigadier General Richard Jagonapanja, regarding the ongoing search operations. He indicated that multiple search teams comprising soldiers, police officers, and forest guards had been deployed into the Chikangawa Forest Reserve to locate the missing aircraft and were awaiting further updates. The coordination center ensured harmonizing between the Malay Defense Force, Malay Police Service, medical and emergency services, forestry personnel, and civil aviation stakeholders. Discovery of the crash site.
If I may stop you, I think you've gone beyond your scope. I think the information you provided before was sufficient, but you are now going beyond your scope, which is now, you're now preempting the other phase that we have not planned for.
Thank you, Chair.
Is it possible for you to limit yourself to the scope? You've given us a lot of information on the particular scope we want to talk about.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. The summon I received specifically said I should also submit the role I played as an individual. So this is the role I played as an individual. It said the role played by you. This is the role I played as an individual. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, the role you played in the planning and preparations for the late Vice President's flight on 10th June. If you have your summons. But we are concerned about preempting another phase where people have not discussed, and we're going to preempt conversations and discussions of a phase we have not embarked upon.
Thank you, Chair. That is well noted.
We'll be asked to ask you those questions, and I think it won't be fair on other witnesses that are going to come. And we would like to be very structural. So can we focus on this particular phase, but not on the search and rescue? We haven't gone to search and rescue yet. We may talk about it if it spills over. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. That is well noted.
So may I, when I look at your presentation, I think you have provided with sufficient information to engage you on the airworthiness, maintenance of the aircraft, how ready the aircraft was before we venture into the actual flight and the recovery, the discovery of the bodies.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
I'm fine with that, sir.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, but you've done a good job so far, giving us all supporting documentation. You demonstrated that you're a qualified technician, and I think we have sufficient grounds to engage you and seek further clarification. So if I may ask, I may start asking, how safe was this aircraft? Just to break ice with you and let you settle down. I think you've got all the facts. So how safe was this aircraft? In summary, so that the members can now, start asking further questions, pertinent questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. In aircraft maintenance, we depend on documentation. As far as the paperwork for this aircraft was concerned, the aircraft was airworthy.
I was being reminded that after you've just explained that, I think there's a relevant, you have relevant points on communication with aircraft manufacturer on point 14. That would be very critical. Findings with Germany BFU, that's very relevant. And the conclusion. So, yeah, you can talk about page 14. Communication with the aircraft manufacturer, the finding with BFU, and then you can conclude. But in general terms, how safe was the aircraft, and then you can proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Chair. In general terms, the aircraft was safe for flight. It was airworthy. Thank you, Chair.
That's what we want to hear. Can you just take us through page 14, communication with aircraft manufacturer, and then you conclude.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Communication with the aircraft manufacturer. On 15th June 2024, after the immediate emergency response phase had subsided, I responded to correspondence received from a representative of General Atomic Systems from Germany, the manufacturer of the Dornier 228 aircraft. He expressed condolences and requested information relating to the accident. An official accident report form was provided and subsequently completed and returned. He further inquired whether the aircraft had been fitted with a flight data recorder, FDR, or a cockpit voice recorder, CVR, commonly referred to as black boxes. I confirmed that the aircraft had neither system installed. He also indicated that contact had already been established with the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Accident Investigation, BFU, concerning the occurrence. Findings of the German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Accident Investigation. The German Federal Bureau of Aircraft Accident Investigation, BFU, is an international respected aviation safety authority whose investigations are conducted in accordance with recognized international standards. The BFU concluded that the accident occurred because the crew flew into instrument meteorological conditions during flight under visual flight rules, and the aircraft collided with the ascending terrain. In simple terms, the crew was operating under visual flight rules, VFR, which requires pilots to maintain visual reference with the horizon, the terrain, landmarks, and obstacles. During the flight, the aircraft encountered instrument meteorological conditions, IMC, where visibility deteriorated to the point that visual references were no longer sufficient for safe flight. As a result, the crew lost situational awareness and the aircraft collided with rising terrain. Explanation of key aviation terms. Visual flight rules, VFR. Under VFR, pilots navigate primarily using visual references outside the aircraft. Safe VFR operations require sufficient visibility to allow pilots to observe the horizon, the ground, navigation landmarks, other aircraft, terrain, and obstacles. Instrument meteorological condition, IMC. IMC describes weather conditions in which visibility is inadequate for visual navigation. In such conditions, pilots must rely on aircraft instruments and operate in accordance with instrument flight rules, IFR. The BFU identified following contributing factors to the accident. Continuation of flight at low altitude despite deteriorating weather conditions, loss of situational awareness by the flight crew, inadequate pre-flight preparation. The investigation further established that there was no accident-related technical defect, no aircraft system failure, no evidence of an in-flight or post-impact fire, adequate fuel was on board, there was clear evidence of adverse weather conditions, a deliberate operation decision to continue the flight despite increasing risk. Conclusions. Based on the technical information available before the Vice President's flight, the Directorate of Maintenance and Technical Support was satisfied that the aircraft had been properly maintained, inspected, and certified in accordance with approved procedures. The maintenance records, inspection records, defect management records, and technical certifications all supported the conclusion that the aircraft was airworthy and technically serviceable at the time. Based on the evidence reviewed, the following conclusions can also be drawn. The aircraft was structurally airworthy and operating well within its certified life limits. The age of the aircraft was not supported by engineering evidence as a causal factor in the accident. The absence of CVR and FDR equipment was consistent with the aircraft certified configuration and state aircraft status. Malawi Air Force initiated efforts to install flight recorders and modern ELTs, but financial constraints prevented its completion. State aircraft are maintained and operated under state-controlled systems designed to ensure their serviceability and operational readiness. The aircraft had a reduced seating capacity because some seats had been removed to accommodate the casket safely and respectively. The absence of post-impact fire is technically explainable and consistent with accident dynamics. The wreckage evidence does not indicate that an engine failure occurred prior to the accident. The condition of the wreckage after recovery was primarily influenced by the necessary cutting of the aircraft structure to recover victims trapped within the wreckage and the subsequent technical examination conducted by the BFU. The BFU investigation found no technical malfunction or aircraft defect that caused the accident. The primary cause of the accident identified by the BFU was the crew's continuation of a visual flight rules flight into instrument meteorological conditions, resulting in controlled flight into terrain. The BFU findings were based on an independent technical investigation conducted in accordance with international aviation safety standards. Accordingly, the BFU found that the accident was primarily the result of operational, human, and environmental factors, rather than aircraft age, structural condition, or technical failure. The crash of the Malaya Air Force Dornier 228 aircraft on 10 June 2024 was a tragic national disaster that resulted in the loss of occupants aboard the aircraft. I trust that this submission will assist the committee in understanding the role of the Director of Maintenance and Technical Support and the technical status of the aircraft prior to the accident. Respectively submitted, Colonel Julius Ndokwe. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, the committee. I submit.
Thank you, Colonel Ndokwe, for your elaborate presentation, which is very detailed and thorough. Members would like to engage you. So I'll start with Zomba.
Thank you, Chair.
Yep.
Sorry for interruption. Just one, this is a copy of the email correspondence that I had with the company.
You may surrender.
Thank you, Chair.
Any documents, any annexes documents with the Secretariat. May I request we start engaging you, if you're ready, with a pen and paper, because you may be required to answer a set of questions, maybe 3 or 4 at the same time. I'll start with Zomba City South, and then Zomba Tondwe.
Thank you very much, Chair. And let me also thank Colonel Ndokwe for the elaborate submission. Chair, I will start by indicating that the Colonel's presentation to me was a bit difficult to follow because I was looking at the summons that were given to him, and therefore I found the submission to be loaded with issues that were outside the summons. For example, I noted that he concentrated on issues that were not in the summons, configuration, for example, of the Vice President's flight. I thought that was not included in the summons. I noted that he spoke about the absence of post-impact fire. I think that was not in the summons. I wonder why he concentrated on that. Assessment of engine power at impact. I thought maybe he might have included things that were not in the summons. Chair, you rightly intervened at a certain point because he started going to borders and what have you. So I found this to be a bit disturbing. Maybe there's a reason why he took this route, but Chair, I thought this was a bit, I don't know what English to use, but I think it was a bit off tangent. But still, since he's here with the submission that he has made, I also wanted to find out, I think all the members have got a BFU report. I noted that he was taking us through the BFU report, and I think in our 2 hours, analyzing the BFU report is also one of our responsibilities as a committee, because the BFU report was found to be a bit inadequate in a few areas. So he appears to be taking the BFU as a standard for making some of the observations and conclusions. So I also found that to be off tangent. I don't know why he also concentrated on the BFU that we thought is also a bit inadequate for us to also to take a look as a committee. Anyway, besides that, yesterday I did ask a question to, was that a Major, the guy, the officer we met at the end? Captain Ngoma. I'm referring to that question because I see you're also responsible for defect management, sorry. I did ask about this particular plane, Tango 03, that on the 9th, it started off from Zomba, going to Blantyre. There was an incident where the left engine was not rolling, and I think officers there were asked to manually roll the engine. So he responded. I want to associate this to another procedure that was done on the same day. They call it a touch and go procedure. I think you are aware of this procedure. So I'm referring to you because you are in charge of defect management. We were told because of the flying hours of this plane, it was still almost new. Can you confirm that it was almost new? Because I noticed that there are other parts that have been replaced. Despite the plane in total being almost new, other individual parts are being replaced. One of them being the ADI. So I was just thinking to say the rolling of the engine, was it a sign of a certain component malfunctioning? If so, do you think this could also probably explain why they had to do this touch and go procedure? Chair, I should also thank the Colonel for bringing records. I hope the maintenance records, including the inspection records that he has at the Zomba Air Base, could also be made available to this committee so that we also use it for our assessment. The next question is to do with maybe not a question, but a request. The normal sitting configuration of this plane, Chair, I thought maybe the design, we need to have it so that we see the sitting arrangements, because we are getting confused after it was reconfigured. We need to see how was it originally and the reconfigured configuration for us to make informed opinions. I'm saying this because I know that the 9th June plane going to Zuzu had 9 passengers. This one had 6 passengers, meaning that it had 3 empty seats. So I wanted maybe for me also to make an informed conclusion in this, to have the seating arrangement provided to us. We have also gone into suppositions. I think on the impact of the absence of fire on impact. I think that one, I thought you made a number of assumptions. As a layperson, if there's no fuel, I find it difficult that we can have a fire. So we looked at one side, but I thought we could have a number of hypotheses. If this is not there, this cannot happen. If this is not there, this cannot happen. But we concentrated on one area. I'm a layperson in your field, but the absence of fuel, I thought it could also be something that could explain the absence of fire. You might ask me to say the plane had 4 hours of endurance, but maybe that could be explained later, because this is avionics, this is engineering. You never know what happened en route. Maybe there was no fuel. We couldn't have also fire. Finally, Chair, I noted that there was communication with the air manufacturer, and I thought evidence could be provided of that communication, and I'm happy that at the end he was also submitted that evidence to say they communicated with the manufacturer. So indeed I wanted that one to also to be given to the committee, so that we also appreciate that indeed there was this communication. As a Chair.
You may respond to these questions before we move to the next one.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Member. The first question about the roaring of propellers. When the aircraft flies for a short distance and then it comes down to land, and then they have to restart the engines again. Normally the engines, they've got an indicator in the cockpit showing the temperature of the engines. And according to the starting limitations of the engines, the temperature has to be at a certain level. If this temperature is not at that level, then what is required is to rotate the propellers. This rotating of the propellers helps the temperature to go down so that you reach the starting limit of the engines. This is exactly what happened on this day. As on the touch and go, normally due to limited resources, our pilots don't fly as often. So when there's a chance to fly, normally they do training. So this touch and go was part of training before undertaking the mission. They were practicing landing before taking the major mission. This is what happened on this day. Absence of fuel. Records are available indicating that this aircraft was refueled and fuel was on board. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Yeah, Zomba Tondwe, then we go with Doa Kasangazi, and then Mulanje Lilongwe Modis.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good morning, Conan Doc. Good morning, Honourable. Thank you. Chair, I must say, most of the things he's mentioned, especially the first portion of his presentation, were well presented. But I would also like to say that they were not conclusive, so to say, because some items were missing. One example is what Dr. Mpunga has said, and I just want it to be on record because it's, he said that under oath. I would give an example of the, I agree, for a fire to happen you need 3 conditions, including heat, the fuel itself, and the oxygen. That's quite true, but I'm giving just an example. If we assume, for example, that this plane had the puncture somewhere, or on the tanks, for example, it would be in air and just gliding, not on the engines. But of course, he has said that the engines were running at this point in time. But I just wanted to give him an example to say you may lose fuel from the tanks from different ways, not just this. So that's just one example. Otherwise, I would start from the same chair to agree with his assessment or his opinion on the rotating of engines, meaning the engines had power. But Colonel, while I agree with you that engines had power, would you also therefore suggest that there was no way the master switch could be off if the engines had power? I'm engaged. I hope you got my point.
No, I don't understand the question.
You said, which I agree with you, that the engines we are running had power at this point in time on impact. Not so? Yeah, so I just wanted you to confirm that there is no way engines can have power with the master switch off. Do you agree?
Thank you, Honorable. I don't agree.
How would you explain? I'm sorry, because I'm looking at supply of fuel to the engines. How did that happen, Cornell?
The TP331 engine has an engine-driven pump that supplies fuel to the Dornier 228 aircraft has got engine-driven pumps that pump fuel from the tanks to the engines. And these pumps don't need electrical power. Even if you remove all the electrical energy on the aircraft, the engines will still be running. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you so much for such an answer. Chair, that answers yesterday's question presented by Captain Antani, and I agree with him. Other than that, I wanted Cornell just to confirm with you. Of course, I understand from your presentation, which is I understand it well, but I wanted to confirm in terms of regulations, like, for example, the radio license. I asked this question to Captain Ngoma yesterday. He referred me to you. I just wanted to confirm that, do you also get licenses, radio licenses under MACLA, or as military you don't?
Thank you, Honorable. As military, we don't. And there are reasons for that. A radio license will restrict you to the spectrum that you are given to operate. As military, we do operations where we're not supposed to be restricted to a certain spectrum. Thank you, member.
Thank you so much, Cornell. Just also to confirm that same thing. Okay, on insurance, what would you comment? Are you supposed to have insurance for the plane?
We are supposed to have. Thank you.
But in this case, you never had the insurance?
The insurance is renewed annually. When the accident happened, the insurance had expired.
Thank you. And I also wanted just to confirm that you mentioned, and it's clear to me, you have a deferred defect logbook. Chair, I would like to request if it is possible to have a picture on that, so that we can just refer to what is mentioned about the standing of the defects. So, as he has expressed, normally there will be a book for defects, outstanding defects with the plane. Maybe that may also help to assist members. As I get towards the end, Cornell, there was mention of a defect covering the ADI within the same week. And I was looking at the graph, a graphical presentation of the flight height, with reference to heights. So the way it was showing, it was like it's going down and then it goes up when it's like approaching terrain. And that could surely be linked to, in terms of reference, the ADI. And then the flight was not level. Would you think that maybe after defect rectification, the fault could have happened again and they probably contributed to this, in your view? Cornell.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I don't think so. An ADI has got nothing to do with the altitude of the aircraft. An altimeter is what the pilots use for calculating at the height of the aircraft above ground, not an ADI. Thank you, member.
And again, I wanted to just, maybe this one I'll spare for the avionics guy, but you may also take this one, Cornell. I just wanted to confirm that you do campus swings, and if possible, how often, just to relate with the way you do your maintenance.
Thank you, member. Campus swings are carried out annually during the annual inspection. And there's only one technician in the whole country who does campus swing, even including civilian aircraft. It's Colonel Chilunguni.
Okay. Thank you so much, Cornel. As I wind up, I think I would just request that if we could have a picture on the initial technical specifications of the Donia 228. Otherwise, Chair, I'm quite impressed with his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you be able to provide us with copies of the insurance policy and the certificates of this aircraft? Though you're saying it expired at the time of the crash, but we'd like to see the insurance policy because we have victims that have not been compensated up until now. So we'd like to see what that insurance policy covers.
Thank you, Chair. The responsibility for insurance cover for Malawi Air Force aircraft lies with the Joint Headquarters, the Directorate of Logistics.
Yes, I'm asking you to facilitate. If you're, maybe we can follow up with them, but if you're in a position to facilitate, will be helpful. Maybe we will engage you afterwards, and who will be the right person for us to give us the insurance policy.
Thank you, Chair. I think a formal request has to be written to the Joint Headquarters. Thank you, Chair.
Lower.
Chair.
Sorry for interruption. Maybe before he comes in, there are some outstanding, I think, answers that I have to provide to Zomba Tondwe. The Dodonia 228 aircraft has a master warning system. This warning system will warn the pilot in case of any system malfunction. Even if the aircraft is running out of fuel, a warning will come on. If there is low oil pressure, a warning would come on. And what the BFU did, they got hold of this system and they analyzed it, and they found that the aircraft had no system malfunction. Thank you.
Excuse me, Chair. I don't understand. How did they analyze it when just to get a picture? Did they do that in the country? Because the Chair, if the plane has crashed, how would the analysis be done? Just for the Colonel to teach me one or two things.
Thank you, Honorable. The system was taken to Germany, where they did the analysis. It's even in the BFU report. Thank you, Honorable.
Chair, just maybe on the same. So the warning panel, I agree with you, is in the report. It was working. So that means if the fuel had run out, it was able to show the pilots that we are running out of fuel. But on analysis, how can they detect from the machine that indeed, from that panel, that indeed fuel had run out? They will in my opinion, they will just see that it was functioning, but not necessarily that it told them that fuel had run out.
Thank you, Honorable. This panel has got illuminants, bulbs, that illuminate when there is a system malfunction. So what they did, they analyzed whether these bulbs had illuminated during the flight. Thank you, Honorable.
Doa Kasangaza.
Zikomo kwambiri Chair, potipatsa ife anthu akudowa Kasangadzi mpata kuti tiperekepo mafunso. poyambirira ndifuna ndidziwe keno kuti kodi inuyo mangogwira ntchito yokoza ndege yokha kapena mathaso kuyendetsa ndege, ndipo ngati mmatha kuyendetsa ndege donia imene inachita ngozi munayendetsapo?
Zikomo kwambiri honorable. Ine ntchito yanga ndiyo kukonza ndege, kuyendetsa ndege sinditha. Tikakonza ndege, to want to go for a test flight, I have to go with a pilot. Malamulo aviation, for you to be in the air, you must have a license to fly. Not anybody can just go into the air and fly. It's not allowed. Even if technically you know how to fly, but you must have a license to fly. Malamulo aviation amateur. So for a test flight, I always go with a qualified pilot. Thank you, Honorable.
Ndieno ndimafuna ndimvetsetse bwinobwino chifukwa mmene mmafotokoza munanenapo kuti ndegeyi inali bwinobwino, mmene manyambuka kuzomba kupita ku Blantyre kupita ku Mzuzu, inuyo mukunena kuti ndegeyi inali bwinobwino moti ikanatha inali yoti no imayenera kumauluka ndithu. Dzulo pamene tinali ndi a Captain Ntani anatifotokozerapo zokhudzana ndi mitambo yovuta kwambiri mlengalenga. Anatchulapo za mtambo umene umatchedwa mu Chingerezi kuti cumulonimbus, akuti ndi mtambo umene umakhala ovuta kwambiri. Ndiye ndikuiwerenga BFU report, final report, pa page 59 pali zithunzi zimene zinachokera ku satellite images amene anajambula mitambo imene inaliko kunthungwa kumene kunagwera ndege imeneyi. Mitambo imeneyo pa page 59 ya BFU report ayijambula bwino kwambiri, makamaka amene tikuona zithunzi zakala. Maganizo mwanga nuona ngati kuti inali mitambo ya gulu limeneli la cumulonimbus. Ndipo ayikaponso nthawi imene amajambulira kunthungwako pakati pa 10 o'clock ndi 10:15. Zithunzi za mitambo imeneyo aziyika pamene popo. Ineyo ndimafuna ndikufunseni kuti mmene mukufotokozera kuti ndege inali bwinobwino, munayiona inali bwinobwino ndipo inali airworthy yoti ikhoza kumauluka ndithu bwinobwino, inu mukuona kuti chimene chinapangitsa ngozi imeneyi chinali chani?
Zikomo kwambiri honorable. Ineyo ngati munthu wa aviation, I've been in aviation field for a long time, now 35 years. Ine ndimakhulupirira zimene ma bodies aviation amanena. BFU, if you look at their record, iyi singozi yoyamba kuzapanga investigate, and those people are professionals.